welcome you to go on a learning journey with me. We have 2 books for your learning enjoyment. Our first book is The Priesthood of the Dance. The Priesthood of the Dance is a manual to teach and help cultivate the dance minister, the movement of arts minister. We talk about in the Priesthood of the Dance the various colors that the minister of arts uses, as well as the many names of God, names that he calls himself, as well as we have given unto him in honor and reverence. We also discuss the many symbols that are located on our banners and what they mean. We give you biblical foundation for all of that and so much more. Why does God call us priests and kings unto himself? Why do we serve and move in this capacity in our worship experience? So I invite you to go to Amazon.com and purchase your copy today. It's an ebook only at this moment. In addition, we have our second book that's on pre-order only. It is entitled His Bride. Now that's a play on words because we're talking about becoming his bride, the bride of Christ. Endowed with all that God has given us, he expects a return on his investment. And so we go through various subject matters, various struggles that we as women face in becoming his bride. But that's a play on words, remember? Not only are we becoming his bride, but we're becoming his bride to the one that you're betrothed to, the one that you're engaged to, the one that you're thinking about becoming engaged to. Or maybe you just have no idea of what it means to be married. And so we go through that subject matter as well. So I invite you to purchase your pre-order copy today via Zelle, via PayPal, by typing in Keena Nichols at hotmail.com or even Cash App at $YP Beauty with an E, INC. And you can see that information on your screen there. Pre-order your copy today because there's a wealth of information in there, from makeup artists to party planners to various things that you will need to know about becoming the thrifty bride. I was a thrifty bride. So I invite you and I welcome you to Yahweh Beauty Inc. Come on this learning journey with me. And I guarantee you, you will be blessed. Hello, everyone. Hey, Michaela and Graham.
Hi.
Hey, I don't know what's happening with my.
It's a split screen. Uh-oh.
What's going on? Why is it doing that?
We can't see you, Auntie Kina.
Do I need to go
There
out?
we go. Okay.
Okay.
So you need to come over here.
Hold on. Okay. So, move over. There we go. Okay. We can't hear anything. Okay, she's got us muted. Okay, that's yours.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Yes. So we are just going to get started. We've got lovely mother and daughter dream teams coming in. So just for now, you have us.
Hi, Mom.
And we all fam. And so we're just going to get the conversation started. And as people come in, they can come on in. I'll let them into the room. So we just came off of a long weekend, right? You guys had a good weekend?
We did.
Good, good. We
How about you guys?
well, we traveled to Buffalo, and I'll probably do something on my cousin Ruth Whitfield, who was the eldest person that was killed in the Buffalo massacre. And so we just got back from that
I'm so sorry.
yesterday. Bittersweet. It was good to see family, but not good to see family in that situation. So we'll talk about that at a different time. But today we're talking about the weight, the weightiness. It weighs us down, don't it, McKayla?
Yes.
The weightiness of the weight. All things that mothers try to tell their daughters to wait for that we sometimes listen to and sometimes not, right? So, Michaela and Kimberly, introduce yourself to our lovely audience.
Well, I am Kimberly Ross Brown, and I am here in Lexington, Kentucky. I have with me my 19-year-old firstborn.
Yes.
Surprise. We say surprise, but we say also blessing. And this is, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I am Michaela Brown. As my mom said, I'm the oldest of my brother and I am a senior political science major at Spelman College. So,
Yes, yes. Michaela Chanel.
yes, Michaela.
Yes, yes. So, this is my mom, Carolyn Yvonne Nichols, and she's not very happy about being on this live. She thought she was going to do it via telephone, whatever.
No, Mom, no.
We are live and in living color. So, a couple of things.
And believe it or not, Michaela's not too happy either, because at the last minute I was like, "Oh my gosh, we've got to be on live." And she goes, "Mom, you didn't tell me."
We were like
this.
5 minutes away from Costco. We had to turn the car around. And everything. My mom, and it's funny, Auntie Kina, because we were ordering your stuff.
Yes.
And so I told Mom, I was like, I think Auntie Kina's stuff, I think it just got shipped. And then that's when my mom was like, "Oh my gosh,
yes,
we had the webinar today."
Well, I'm
Thank
so
God.
happy you guys turned the car around. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So when I was thinking about this subject, we just came off of. Mom keeps trying not to be in this camera. Let me flip.
You see, I keep doing
She etching. I'm gonna keep turning the camera until she stops etching.
Well, it ain't about me.
Yes,
well, Mom looks like your
Yes.
sister. I mean, you are so beautiful.
Thank you.
See. So, in thinking about this subject, we just came off of Mother's Day, right? And one of the things that I was looking at was in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. And we always give Martha kind of the bad deal, right? She wasn't sitting at Jesus' feet, getting all the nuggets from Jesus. She was busy doing some work. But I've looked at Martha and Mary as a both and I know Kim and I sometimes we Martha all day. We are Martha.
Yes.
However, there is a time to be a Mary. And so even looking at that, and then I was looking at Proverbs 31, 10 through 31, that's the infamous scripture about being a virtuous woman. But my focus was on the scripture that refers to her as giving her her fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. That means her Marthaism, if I can coin that as a term, her Marthaism is her works that praise her in the gates. So while she's a Martha and she's a Mary, it's the Martha portion of the virtuous woman that gives her praises at the gates. And so I was thinking of those gates as being like home and church and work and school and a variety of, even Costco, a variety of places, right?
Yeah.
And then I also looked at Ecclesiastes 3 and 13, which talks about enjoy the good of your labor, which is a gift from God. So there's nothing wrong with us being Marthas in this season. There's nothing wrong with it at all, but there must be a balance. And I think that's what Jesus was trying to espouse in Luke, and also what we also need to also understand even in this now season of a lot of Marthas, but little Mary. Little time that we are Mary as well. And then I also looked at Ecclesiastes 3 and 22, where it says, nothing better than a man to rejoice his own works. It's his portion to rejoice, right? So there's nothing wrong with us celebrating Michaela's accomplishments. And I was about to say Dr. Kimberly Brown. Dr. My good friend Kim's accomplishments, but what I wanted to focus on for this talk was my mom and you, Kim, and others that shall come on. Hopefully they'll come on soon. With your greatest accomplishments, or one of your greatest accomplishments, is in being able to tell your daughter some things that you wish you would have known prior to experiencing them. Prior to knocking your head against the wall, concrete might be. Yes. Sometimes some things that you would tell to Michaela, or you have told to Michaela. Let's start out with, what about engagement? Being engaged, being betrothed, having the ring on the finger.
We've talked a lot about relationships and relationship management, and look at that facial expression. My parents used scare tactics. I have to really be honest with me. And
does that too?
My parents, I can just remember saying, if you do it, something bad's gonna happen, and we're gonna ship you away, and you'll never see us again. And that worked for a little while. I'm just going because we were scared. We were very afraid. And we did not know what all that entailed. But as a woman who's married and a lover of Christ, and as I've grown in the Spirit and grown in the Word, we've had opportunities to really understand how premarital involvement can change the dynamics of your relationship and your life on so many levels. And we have tried to teach and talk to Michaela about that from a spiritual perspective, not as much from a scare tactic. Now, of course, I started there because that was my foundation, right? Because that's what I've been taught.
If you do that, you're gonna die. And of course, I was like, well, I don't want to die. I'm gonna just
and it worked for years until the friends start dibbling and dabbling, and then you're like, well, they didn't die, and then it's like more questions come up. But when you start to speak of it from a spiritual perspective and really understanding that this is what the word of God says, and this is why, and making those connections, and even being very honest and sincere about my relationships and past relationships. And my husband, Michael, and I had always kind of discussed, like, when we have children, we are really going to be honest about premarital involvement, relationships, what can happen, what we've gone through, and how best to pursue these relationships. And I thank God for him allowing me to be honest. And I would tell McKay, like, this is not for you to hold this against me, but these have been my struggles in life, and these are the decisions that I made, and these were also the consequences. So really understanding that we can fall into sin, and this is what sin looks like. However, if you choose to fall in that, then this is, of course, the consequence of it. And then, you have to walk that path. Michael, on the other half, is kind of like, sometimes he will say, well, Kim, we have to let them fall. I think I'm still, as a mom, you carry your child, and you never want them to fall. And I can just remember, when she was climbing up the stairs in our house, she was determined. We put gates up. We did everything trying to prevent her from not going down or up those stairs. And I think those gates, we put one gate on top of another gate. She knocked the gate down. Like, she was determined, I'm going to get up these stairs. And my dad was living then, and he just kind of snuck and watched her just kind of moseyed up those stairs. He was like, you know what? You got to let her do this. She's going to fall, and you just got to let her bump her head. And one day we heard the boom, 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 and we knew, well, there's the fall. And, she did break a leg. She didn't die. So
I'm not explaining why I am.
That may explain some things, but she made it. And sometimes in life, that's the hard part with mothering, is that they have to fall, and you want to be there to catch them. But God is so good, because he will put a rally of family members around you to help you to say, or help you to hear and understand that, my child has gone through this, or I've gone through this, and it's going to be okay. So for us, the biggest event was college. And, I think we tried to put everything that we could possibly put in her before she left for college. And she's just looking at us like today, the only thing she said to me is like, why y'all didn't teach me the electric slide? Like, we're thinking, what?
I was watching a video
Michaela, that's the question on the table. The electric slide.
Yes.
And I said, baby.
So tell me, Michaela, about the scare tactics. Let's go back to the scare tactics. I'm interested.
The scare tactics.
What did Kim say?
I remember, like, vividly in high school, and my mom, like, mentioned that we're from Kentucky. So I've always kind of had a little bit of a struggle with just, like, dating and even just talking to guys, just because, like, as a kid, like, I was always doing things, like, I never really had time to focus on guys. So when I got to high school, I went to a performing arts high school. So that was kind of a whole nother kind of avenue and spectrum that I had to kind of, work through. And so in high school, I had friends, and they started kind of getting a little curious about guys. And I remember my mom, I came home and I had one friend, you remember Maddie? And she was inquiring with me, and Maddie and I were
Put Maddie on blast. Put Maddie on blast.
No.
Just did.
We sorry, Maddie.
But there's a lot of Maddies and Madisons on Tikina.
Very good. There's many Maddies, not the one that Michaela's talking about. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
And so I remember, like, she was telling me what she was doing with guys and how she was going on all these dates and stuff. And so I told my mom, and she was like, well, don't you go out there, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to come home and we're going to ship you away. If anything happens, if any funny business happens, we are going to ship you away, and your nana's going to disown you.
Mm-hmm.
And, my nana was...
Not the nana disownment, Kim?
Yes. My nana would talk about that. She would jokingly say it. She was like, I told your mama, and I'll say the same to you. If any funny business happens, just know my pockets will close. I remember at a very young age, I would get in trouble, and my nana would say things like, if you don't stop, my pocketbook's going to close. And so those words. So whenever she brought that up, I was like, oh, this is serious. So I was like, I don't want her pocketbook to close. I don't want anybody to get mad. And most importantly, I didn't want to get shipped away. Like that was a big fear of mine. So I always I really wasn't, I don't want to say why. I talked to guys, but they were never like that involved. Even when I went to college, like I had a lot of guy friends, but I was not involved just because A, I was in a new city. B, I was scared, and 3, like I'm on a college campus, and unfortunately a lot of bad things happen on college campuses. So that was something I had to be mindful of. And the fact that my mom was like, if you mess up here, we are bringing you home. You are coming back. And I was like, I do not want to come back home.
And my parents, with her, Michael and I, well, for me, I actually thought that I was doing something to be able to say sex because my parents said, don't you do it. And you know what it is. I mean, they could not use the word.
I always would say things like romantic involvement or romantic relations.
Relations is the word we use.
Relations. Okay, Dr. Garrett, we got some funny business going on up in this conversation.
Yes, you do.
So we're going to welcome Dr. Garrett. We're also going to welcome Prophetess Tanya Wormley. Her daughter is en route. She's in college downtown, and so just a little delayed, but we thank God for Tanya joining us. But we got some funny business, Dr. Garrett. We had threats, pocketbooks closing, being shipped away. She's gonna die if it is done. PG-13 version, the it.
The it.
The S word. The letter word. Okay, everybody else get it. Okay. If that was ever done. Obviously scare tactics are not good, I would presume from a clinical perspective.
Absolutely. But do we do them as parents? Absolutely. Did I do it too? Yes, I did.
Yes.
And you have a son.
I do.
A little different. Mom, what did you tell me about sex?
Oh, that your body was changing, and that if you ever decided that this is what you were going to do to protect yourself, you didn't have to prove anything to anybody except the scholarship people.
Right. That part.
You
went to school on a scholarship, ma'am. 4 years, ma'am. Ma'am.
No, Mama. I said, go ahead, Mama. You are very.
I mean, you could say don't do it, or I wasn't going to threaten her, but I want her to know how to protect herself. And don't do, oh, Mommy, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to talk about that. That's not going to happen. Well, this is what you need to do.
But when she couldn't get in touch with me at Hampton, because I know I'm dating myself for all of us. We just celebrated 30 years. I don't mind. 30 years out of college. And I went. Thank you, Michaela. That's my buka right there. She know how to bring in that encouraging word. We appreciate you. And I went to my old dorm. I went to my dorm floor. They don't have the payphone in the hallway anymore. They got phones in their room. They got actual phones with jacks in their room. Not cell phones, but phones in their room. I'm like, wow, really?
30 years later.
30 years later. But Mom used to have to call the payphone number. Of course, if somebody was on the payphone, there was no call waiting, so she couldn't get through. So if I didn't call once per week, then we had issues. I was busy living life.
Yeah,
Michaela, right?
Okay.
Living life.
I know. I've gotten in trouble many a times on college campus where my mom was like, I haven't heard from you all day.
All day?
Well, and this is what I will say. What helped me a lot was I teach on a college campus, and one of my colleagues teaches human sexuality, and we were very close. And she came in my office kind of complaining and talking about the fact that she passed out condoms to the class, and they were showing them different pictures. And as she's talking, my mouth dropped. And
Mom, she put me in this class.
I was.
Wait, roll it back. You sent my baby to class?
This is what I.
And Takina, she put me in her class.
Once I had this conversation.
Did you get a grade?
Oh yeah, she got a grade for it, and this is why, because I was sitting there and my good friend said, first of all,
my legs are jumping now.
Your daughter is in 11th grade. At that time, she was in 10th grade, and she said, "You're struggling to say sex. You're telling me about God, and she's a Christian, and we would have lunch together, good friends." And she said, "This girl has got to go to college." She's like, "I need for her to be in my class." And she goes, "I don't think she's prepared because I don't know if you and Michael are prepared." So
it was so
I said, I can't. The stuff that you talk about is just too X-ray. And she goes, "I need for you to come to my class." I came to her class. I was there for 10 minutes covering myself because I felt validated. And she said, "This is the world that we live in. You got to catch up." And she put me out, but she said, "I'm bringing Michaela to my class." Michaela took the class. And the first day,
she told my mom, like, I couldn't. I remember they were saying things, and like I was laughing the whole.
And the whole goal was for her to tell me how far can Michaela go away from us, because she had been with us her entire life. We were looking at colleges, and these colleges that she wanted to go to were in
NYU,
yes,
like
New York, LA. And I was just like, Michael was saying, "Well, we're moving to LA next week. We're moving to New York." Just wherever she was going, we were going. And she said, "You can't do this. Let me have her in my class, and I can give you an assessment of where she can go." The first week of class, she met with me, and she said she will be at the University of Kentucky, which is right down the street.
Okay, stop there, Kim. Stop.
By the end of the semester, she said 5 to 6 hours away. And that was it.
There's a class for this. Okay, before I let Dr. Garrett fully analyze all of this wonderful goodness, I'm going to let her marinate a little bit more. Tanya.
Wow.
She has another one of my babies, Emil, who's in college, but Emil lives at home, right?
Yes, yeah.
So we started off we didn't start off here. We just kind of tilted in this direction. So we are here talking about it, the 3-letter word that starts with an S and ends with an X. Is that something that you and George talk to Emil about, or is that something that you guys are like, I can't say the word like him?
Yeah, we talked about it because it was needed, because you just think of all the things that kids know now, or at that age, that they knew. She knew stuff that we didn't know she knew, because they learned it in the school and kids were talking about it. So yeah, so we kind of, what not to do, what to watch out for, don't trust, the trust issue thing. So we, kind of dealt with all that. So she knew, like I said, she knew, because that was the conversation around the school and at that age. But yeah, it's difficult, but
difficult conversation.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah.
It's a difficult one. Okay, Dr. Garrett, you done marinating?
I'm done marinating.
Go ahead, Dr. Garrett.
So good afternoon to everyone, or good evening. Miss Carolyn, you got it right. Wisdom. No judgment from you, Miss Carolyn. No judgment. I'm not judging. I will not judge.
You got an A, and that was a nice way of saying I got an F.
That is not. You did not get an F. I will say
B minus.
She used her resources.
Is she your only?
Dr. Garrett, she used her resources.
I have a 13-year-old son,
and he's
okay, but she's your only daughter. So
I
can understand. You did not get an F. I probably would say maybe a C plus, A, maybe
a C. You're right there.
But you use your resources, so I get that. So when you weren't able to have the conversation yourself, you do use a trusted adult. Now I get it. So I will say, for me, I think that is the thing to do when you cannot have those conversations. They have to have a relationship with another adult that they feel that they can talk to and trust. And
we have a strong village.
A very strong village. And I will say that is something that I definitely encourage. I actually just talked about this with someone, making sure that they have a relationship with healthy adults. So I can give you a B plus. How about that? You just an A. Miss Carolyn got an A plus. But I will tell you, my own grandmother got an F minus. Because I will tell you that she did some things, and I'm like, I was so scared. I was scared to have sex on my wedding night because of some of the stuff that she did almost. I mean, I said the word. I'm sorry. Relations. She's relations. Yes, relations. And I'm just like, lady, who can I talk to? So I talked to my aunt, because I could not have that conversation with my grandmother, because like your grandmother, that pocketbook was going to close up if I did anything. And she was helping me through school. So I was like, okay. So I talked to my aunt, and my aunt was that person that I went to with every conversation. And so she told me the good, the bad, the ugly. And so when I got married, she was the person that was standing on my side. And so that's the person that I needed. And that's the person that I needed to have that type of bond with. And so I felt comfortable with expressing anything that I needed to. And so I would say to parents that that's most important. If you're not comfortable, don't have the conversation. Let someone who's trusted in the village have the conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so that's point one. Okay, if people are taking notes out here in the social media land, if you as a parent, mother, father, cannot have, or custodians or godparents or even guardians, right? Some situations are where children are in guardianship with others. You cannot have the conversation in an honest and impactful way. Find a trusted adult to do it. Maybe not put the baby girl or the baby boy in a class. However, if you need to do that. However, have a trusted adult do that. Okay? So we've kind of linchpinned that. That's the weightiness of that weight. What about career and family? Okay, so my mom was a career woman like my whole life. First, you were a court reporter, right? No, you weren't?
I never finished that one.
You never finished that one? I know I used to play on the machine. What was it called? The steno?
Yeah.
Stenographer machine. And she wouldn't let me play with it. So what else did you do?
Well, that was the time that I worked and I had to travel with the job.
Right.
So I was gone sometime.
And I stayed with Granny.
Yeah, you stayed with Granny.
My best friend.
But I mean, it's kind of hard. You don't want to. You feel kind of guilty, because a lot of times it was 2,900 below zero here, and I'm over in Puerto Rico at a meeting. I felt so guilty that my baby was here in Chicago freezing trying to get to school, right? But there's a lot of guilt in that when you have to leave them. But I think because I was a disciplinarian, I didn't have to worry about Keena that much staying with other people. She knew exactly what she was supposed to do and how it was supposed to be done. So I've always let her go away from me when she was young. She went to California, to Disney World, Disneyland, or whatever.
And I met J.J. Walker.
Of course, I was on the phone calling every few minutes, but still, I had to let her kind of learn some things on her own, be away from me. I didn't want her really spoiled, but it just seemed like she got into so many things until now I can't keep up with it. I need a calendar. Facebook to find out where's my baby this week.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! And Kim, you better not say a word.
I cannot keep up with her.
I'm in excellent company. I want everybody in the world to know I'm in excellent company, and even Dr. Garrett. I'm in excellent company.
Yes.
Don't y'all dare try to gang up on me about being everywhere and in between.
Yeah, see, I've had it's Friday now. We left town Friday morning, so I've had it, and now I'm here today. Now, after today,
Oh boy.
I gotta see her for another 2 weeks to let her
We'll work on it.
Oh boy.
Mhm.
I'm a work in progress. You know, the week will go, right? You just go, and you look up and it's Sunday.
Yep.
And she will remind me, I haven't talked to you the whole week. And that's bad. I will say that's bad. From an adult daughter to with a mom who lives by herself, that's bad. So, Dr. Garrett, you ain't got to get on me. I get on myself. I got that.
Do you know that she can say I'm a judge?
I would do damage control before damage control.
I got it. I'm bad. Don't say it at all. I'm working on it. I'm gonna get better.
But I do think when we start them early with traveling and being independent, that it carries over. Like it never stops. My parents allowed me to go to church on church trips with responsible adults who took great care of me. And I mean, I was telling Michaela at 5, I was going on my, yearly summer church conventions. And my parents were fine with that. Like I had my bags packed and I knew what I was going to wear and they explained everything to me, but I'm also the firstborn. So they constantly explain things with me. And with her, she was very early traveling a lot and being with other people. So again, like your mom stated, they know how to behave and we never have to worry about how she's going to conduct herself.
Right. Tanya?
Yeah, so Emil, she did a lot of traveling early, with church groups, dance groups, traveling as well. And also, she's traveled by herself, went to New York and Wisconsin, different places. So she's learned a lot, and I think it really helped her grow up a lot. So I'm thankful for that. And she does well. I'm really surprised because I wouldn't have traveled by myself too many places at that age. But I'm really proud of her. Really proud of her. Mm-hmm.
So is Emil the opposite of you, Tanya, as far as being like
she's more outgoing? Yeah, she's she's more outgoing as far as being around with people and things like that. She does like the art shows and things like that, so she likes things, artsy things, because she is an art major. But yeah, we're kind of opposites on that,
right. Now, I will say, Mom will let me go, like traveling down to Mississippi with the brown paper bag with the greasy chicken in it. I did it. It was good stuff. It was good eating. Was it like 12 hour drive? I cannot. Blessing of the Lord sit in anybody's car.
That's some good traveling.
That was some good chicken. But now I have to get there. Like being in the car that long.
It come with age, Keena. Jesus, it come with age.
But mine was the fact that I traveled to Hampton. Hampton is a strictly 18-hour drive. Okay? I don't care how you fix it or which way you take it.
Right.
You are going at least 16 to 18 hours driving from Chicago to Hampton. And so we did that twice a year. Mom took me down. Mom came back and picked me up. So the 18-hour drives worn me. And so now I love a plane ride. So this trip that we did over the weekend was 8 hours. 8 hours, man. The itch was coming at 6 hours. The itch was there. I had my laptop. I had books. I had writings. I had my phone. I had things. It just wasn't enough. I can't do it.
That's because Keena does several things at one time. So it's hard for her to just do one thing.
Being isolated in one spot in a car. No. But my mom, I will say this, we would open the mall and we would close the mall.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of things that I do, although she can complain about them now. Kim, you talked about it, right? When you start them out young, Michaela, when they start out young and you go and you multitask and you have this going on, you got that going on, you're doing that schedule, you're doing that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It's ingrained and it's taught, right, Dr. Gare?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't fault us for being who
we are.
molded us to be, right?
Correct.
See, I'm
So
trying to
can I say that?
A scale.
I was
I'm
gonna
working on my A.
I'm gonna say you're working on your A tonight. So what I will say is that just very similarly, the same thing happened for me. And so I was able to travel. I don't mind getting on a plane. I will go all over the world if I can by myself. I don't have a problem with that. It's the independence that was taught in all of those things, the values, the ability to travel, to be socially interacting with other individuals that had like minds. And so that's something that I, again, attribute to the village and to having the trusted relationships that they had with other people's parents and educators and all those things. And so I think that that's also a great thing to start teaching our kids young. It's not something that everybody gets the opportunity to do. And so when you have the opportunity, it should be granted and given. And I believe they do appreciate it later on. And I know I did. And it's something that it's been a continuous thing.
And not guilt them.
Oh, definitely. Don't be guilty.
And not guilt them when they get older.
Well, I'm not trying to get you out of trouble today, Kim, because your mom might get me. So I'm gonna be.
I'm trying to help Kim. I'm trying to help Michaela and Kim.
You're trying to help me. Okay.
I'm trying to help them.
You're trying to help them. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so let's not guilt us, because you know what the thing is that I would say it's something that is beneficial. We know that in our careers to be able to do some of the things that we experience, some of the things that we've experienced early on, we put it to good use in the careers and where we are now and with our own families. And some of the things that you've taught, I'm sure she's going to use one day if she decides to become a mother and in a career in her career, in her capacity as well. So I say let them live and experience, because I think a lot of us, some of us did not get that experience. And so until later in life, and I feel like they should have it earlier. If it's a possibility, allow them to go.
That's true.
And finding trusted adults, right? I think you spoke to that, of what Kim was doing with Michaela. And I know Tanya has done with Emil, is having trusted adults, where Emil would have hesitancy of talking to Tanya about particular subjects. She will text me and say, TT, can we talk? And it's all good. It's all good. I'm being a little afraid, but it's all good. But it's all good. It's all good. You created a village for Michaela, and Tanya, you created a village for Emil. And I think, and my mom created a village too. I didn't grow up with my father in the home, and so she created male figures for me. Michaela and Emil have their fathers in their home. And so, Michaela, how would you say it, from probably looking at your friends that may not have their dads within their home environment, or maybe go visit their dads at a different home environment? How would you compare, or contrast would be good? Or would you say, well, at times, you wish it was a little different?
I will tell you this, like my mom will tell you, ever since I was little, when I used to get in trouble, I used to go to my dad. I didn't go to my mom first. I would go to my dad, because he always had a lighter way of words. And
he's a very big guy.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like people will see him and they'll be like, "Your dad's so big," and it'll just fall. I'll be like, "My dad's a teddy bear." Like he's my best friend. My mom is my best friend. I just go to them on as I've gotten older. I've started to go to my mom a lot more for things. But going back to what you were talking about, I guess like the father-daughter relationship. I went to school and my mom told me, when I was in high school, I used to kind of like not fight with my parents, but we would have little like spats here and there. And she'd be like, once you get to school, once you go to college, you're going to see that you were blessed in having both parents in your home, and you're going to see how that really impacted you as a person, how you move about life, how you carry yourself. And my roommate, ironically, who is also my sorority sister, she does not have a dad. Like her dad is not really present in her life. And I've always made it a key or kind of a thing with friends that I know that don't have dads. So like, I'm always like, you can come home with me. Like my dad is your dad. And I can see that I don't want to put them on blast because I'm not that type of person, but I can see that when you don't have that male figure in your life at a young age, it can cause deficits in certain areas once you grow up. Like a lot of times, like some of my friends that I would go out with, they were a little bit more keen to gravitating towards guys, and I was kind of able to read that guy before they really approached him. And I would often tell them like he's not a good person, but because they didn't have like a strong dominant male figure to kind of guide them throughout life, to show them that like authentic fatherly, like untainted, unrestricted love, they tend to kind of gravitate towards any type of male figure that's going to give them that affirmation, which growing up, like, I don't want to boast, but I feel like my dad did a really good job of that. So I think that there have been some times where, my dad, like even when I was on campus, he would call me all the time and I'd be like, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. I would go out and he'd be like, send me your location. Like I had an internship with an entertainment law firm, and every day I would have to take, or every other day I would take an Uber because I didn't have my car on campus at Spelman. And he would like tell me once I got an Uber, send me your location. But these are things that like now being at home, like finishing the semester, like these are things that I took for granted that, thinking back, I have friends at school that very well get in Ubers every day, and their mom is working 3 and 4 jobs to keep them in school, but their siblings in school, as well as just to keep their like household afloat. And their mom's like, I'm not trying to put their moms down, but I know like they may not always be able to look at a text and be like, hey, I just got an Uber, And so I'm really appreciative that my dad cares that much about me and that he really was so instrumental in my upbringing up until this point. So,
yeah.
And I noticed a lot of times I would say, have you heard from Michaela? He go, oh yeah, she's doing this and she's here and she's got that knowing. And I'm just like, and it really came across.
It was so bad. She called me and she was like, I got you all this stuff in your room and you are up here calling your dad for every little thing and not me.
And she said, Mom, I'm not calling him. He's calling me. And that was the big joke before she left for school. It was like, oh, Mom's going to be calling me all the time. And it's really not me. It's him calling her all the time. Because I just realized the more I thought about it, he has always, we have 2 children, a girl and a boy, but he's always like been just all about Michaela. I mean, from day one, this really is kind of hard for him with her.
Funny because when he dropped me off at school, like my mom said that he started to cry. I didn't even know that my dad cried. Like he joked, even to this day when I confronted him about it, I was like, I heard you cry. He was like, oh no. No, that wasn't me. That was your mom. And I would go out with friends and stuff, and he would always be really protective of like my guy friends. Like he would be like, put him on the phone, and he would say like, I can get down there in an hour or so. Like, down, I'm crazy.
Not really,
but I will say this too, that Tanya mentioned earlier, and you mentioned that we call on Keena. And Keena gets all the hard subjects as a godmother because whatever I'm like at wit's end or, and it's something I know that Keena has tackled or she's very good in, I'll just say, okay, let's just call Keena and have her talk to you about it.
And it's true because I'll be honest with you on the platform. Auntie Keena, you got a call about a year ago in the summer, and it was about that boyfriend he told me to break up with.
Yeah.
And it ended very if I'm being honest with you all, it ended very tumultuously. Like I was grieving like the loss of my grandmother on top of a relationship. And I really didn't start grieving that relationship till Thanksgiving. On top of the fact that I was grieving that my grandmother was no longer there for the holidays. So it was a lot. So yeah.
Keena.
We're gonna have a different show on that subject. But it's very interesting because Michaela had a relationship that seemed to be a bit controlling, and I'm like, wow, we Dr. Garrett, we ain't even got real jobs yet. Like, how are we controlling another person in a relationship, in a long distance relationship at that? So it's a different season for us daughters. for our younger daughters, our younger selves, right, Tanya?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. It's different. It's different, but I'm gonna go back to the fathers, and it's the father-daughter relationship. It's, I think, more the dads. They're more like have to be that protector of their daughters. So that's one reason why they're always, they may, reach out to them or contact them. George does the same thing to Emil. Ask questions also about, different guys and stuff, or may pick up on something. So they may have conversations that I may not have, him and Emil, which is good. It's good. Because George can pick up on some things that I may not pick up on, but yeah. And
Want him
Keena,
to tell you?
huh?
Do you want him to tell you about what he's picking up on?
Yeah, I do, Yeah,
She wants to know.
yes.
Right. If you want to know what.
But I find out eventually,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They have their own little secrets sometimes until you give them that look like you
right.
Really
Yeah. What is it?
Right.
Exactly.
So, Dr. Garrett, the normalcy of having the father in the home to provide that stability of protection, that concern, that element of concern, from your perspective, how important is having an element, whether he's in the home, relationship or a marriage, a covenant relationship with the mother or not?
I think that
how important is that relationship with the daughter?
Okay. Absolutely.
Am I frozen?
It's important. It was lagging a little bit. I don't know if it was me or you, but it's absolutely something that is needed and desired. And even I will say that it's something that I wish all little girls had, that they had a present father or a father figure. And I was, I'll say that for me, I was blessed. My dad was not present in part of my life when I was growing up. Didn't meet him until I was 18, but I had my grandfather. And my grandfather taught me so much. And we had a relationship, and a beautiful relationship that I didn't even recognize how important it was until I was all the way in college. And I'm like, every Saturday morning was our time together that we talked, and my grandmother would not be present, and she left it that way so that we could talk, and I could talk to him about what was going on, and he could tell me things that only he could tell me from his perspective. She couldn't tell me. And so he took that role very seriously. And so I'm so grateful that I had him and I had my great grandfather in my life to be those father figures and be present for me. It is something that is so sorely needed. And that when your dad is there and he's involved, he can do so much. We have a great example of one of our colleagues and our brothers, Khalid Scott.
Khalid.
He is a wonderful father.
Shout out to therapist Khalid.
Yes. He is an amazing father. And so he's done such a wonderful job with his daughter. And you want to see more fathers like that. And I just say that, if you're blessed to have it, please learn and enjoy the time and have that wonderful bond and relationship with your dads. And then if your mom's, if your mother's who you have, if she's able to provide that person for you, it may not be your blood father, but it could be your father in love. You know what I mean? And they are able to spend some time with you. I think that my husband does a good job with one of my goddaughters, and he's present with her. And we spend, my God, I don't never know what's coming out of her mouth. She's 13. We spend some time with her, and we want to impart some things to her as well, in wisdom. And it goes, sometimes it's easier sometimes for the girls to talk to the guys about certain things. And so it's something that is something that's needed and cherished throughout the community. I hope we see more.
Yeah, so I know that I did talk about it in His Bride about the lack of that relationship, and what that did for me was that it created, or I created, my ideal out of bits and pieces. You got TV, you got movies, you got people, real life people that you're around, and you take bits and pieces and you create this human being that does not exist. Nowhere, no how does this perfect human being in my mind exist for a father figure. And so what that oftentimes does, and it's been my experience and also working with youth that do not have fathers in their lives, is that they will look for, and Dr. Garrett, you can chime in here, they will look for a father-like figure person in their relationships. And I did that. But there comes a time when there's a separation and I'm growing up, but that father-like relationship or need is no longer necessary.
Right.
And the guy does not know how to adjust, right? And so I talk about one of the suitors in my book of how he didn't know how to adjust to me being this grown person, because I met him at a young age and I sought him, unknowingly. I didn't know this until, hindsight is truly 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it purposefully, but I know that there were things in him that I desired because I did not have that father figure, that protector, that Michaela talked about, and the confidant that Tanya also talked about, between Emil and her father George. So when I no longer needed that, he didn't know how to adjust to me because I was growing up, right? And so that meant the dynamic of our relationship needed to change. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle for him completely, to the point where I felt like, and I think I put it in the book about having my wings clipped. That's the way it felt. Because where Michaela's father, Michael, good old Michael, will allow her to soar, and Kim gave the example of Michaela coming up the stairs like, can't have her come climbing up the stairs. I can't have her rolling down the stairs. No. But where Michael would be a allowance of some of that, right? And I'm sure George allowed Emil to have some wings to fly. When you're seeking that type of relationship in another human being who's your equal, supposed to be your equal, it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work the same way. Talk about that a little bit, Dr. Garrett.
I think that's when you see a lot of the control. And one of the things that I was going to say is that we usually look for those things that we are missing in our life in that partner, right? So those things, those characteristics and things that we've missed in our fathers, we choose in a partner, supposedly, right? But like you said, we don't, when we change and we evolve, as most of us continue to do, that person is still stuck over there. And so it's difficult to ever move them that way. Because that's how they met you. They think that that's the way that you're going to stay. Absolutely not. If the relationship is going to be saved, it's going to be that they're going to, both of us have to evolve. You have to accept that that was a part of me at 20. And now at 50, I'm a whole different chick.
Yeah.
So you have to get to know this 50-year-old me.
Whole different chick.
I'm a whole different chick. At 50, you have to see me different. I mean, you have to see me differently. You have to treat me differently. And at 20 to 30, there's a big, change in everyone that happens. And so they have to be willing to grow with you. We talk about the growth with you, change with you, if the relationship is going to survive. And if there's someone that's going to be controlling of you, then you got to let it go. You got to let them go.
Yeah.
And that's some people come into your life. I'll say that again, for reasons, seasons, and lifetimes.
And I will say, to go off of that, Dr. Garrett, my mom will tell you that we had that conversation with Auntie Kina. And if I'm being totally honest with you, Auntie Kina, and everyone on the call, I did not cut that relationship off. In fact, it got more intense and it got worse. And on campus, I was not talking to my mom really about all that. I was more kind of giving my dad vague kind of things as to how the relationship was going. And one day I got a call from this person, and he called me at my internship, which was something out of the norm because I usually all my friends knew, like, on these days I was at my internship and I was kind of not available until I got off my internship. And he called me that day, and he hadn't called me like for weeks. And I remember I answered the phone and I was like, why are you calling me? And he was like, oh, I can't call you now. And I didn't know that my dad was on the call. I didn't know that I still had him on the call because he had called me at my internship, just kind of checking in to see if I needed help with anything, if I needed any kind of background information. And I didn't know that he had heard him say that. And it wasn't until I got home and I told my parents like how I kind of was just going to cut the relationship off that my dad confronted me, and he was like, I heard him say this, and this sounds like not an abusive relationship, but not a healthy relationship that you want to continue, because it could get to that point where it could get so severe. And so that's something that I had to kind of really come to my own. Well, I did at that point, but I had to really work through like that. And my mom and I even kind of talk now about how like the next relationship, I'm not looking for another relationship at the moment, but just these are kind of things that you want to look for, because I received that. I received like all the love and like admiration and like love, like authentic love from my dad growing up. So I think it was kind of startling for both of my parents for me to get in kind of a situation like that. And I never had like any bad like physical encounters with him, but I could just tell at that point it was kind of like time to separate myself.
Yeah, and she was also grieving the loss of my mom and really wanting something to latch on to. And we kept saying, be careful what you gravitate towards, because the plan, like we could see she was honestly trying to withdraw, but we kind of knew that he was fully aware of her
like this
loss.
person was buying me stuff.
Yeah,
like,
so we was like, these are all the signs of trying to find ways.
And at that point,
are you doing what? Doing the fishing wheel?
I was doing a reel in her in.
Reeling her in.
Absolutely.
Reeling her in. Yeah. But yeah, that whole buying affection, buying love, buying things to keep you. And I mean, we can just use like a lot of celebrities as examples of, what is that old school song that's cheaper to keep her?
Yes.
But really, just talking about what you reeled her in with has to be a continuum. That can't be something that you just willed her in with or you attracted her with, and then now that goes away. And that goes with anything. But I appreciate you, Michaela, for being honest.
Exactly.
Because no matter how much I could tell you from my experience, your mom could tell you from her experience, or anyone else, there are things, and I'm glad it wasn't completely detrimental, like physically and all those things toward you, because that can really go south, especially if you're in the same space. But what I will say is the things that you did learn from that, what I'm hopeful is that you would have learned what you will tolerate and what you won't.
Boundaries.
If relationships, as you talked about, what was the 3 things that you just said, Dr. Garrett? Relationships are here.
Reason, season, and lifetime. And so it sounds like you learned those boundaries already. And like your godmother was saying, it's the thing of knowing what you will accept and what you won't accept. And what the problem for most people is they learn it late in life. You've learned it early on. So hoping you're going to put those things in practice and those boundaries in practice in the next space. Not saying right now, whenever you are in the next space. And the great thing about it is that you have your eyes open. You have the relationship with people that you trust and that your parents trust, that you can talk to about it. And that is half the battle.
Yeah.
So it's a big kudos to you, Michaela.
She gets an A. She gets an A. We get grades over me.
I'm sitting on the modest.
Mama, mother, you've raised your grade. You've raised your grade. You're an A now.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I was only getting you for the class thing.
You're an A. I'm at an A+.
Oh my gosh. Not the competition.
You see, we're grade driven over here.
Me too.
Tanya, do you have these type of conversations with Miss Emile? Did she make it home yet? She's supposed to be on here.
She should be home short. I know, right?
No, go ahead.
She should be home short. Yeah. Yes, we do. And I always tell her, like, if a situation did arise, Michaela, that's your name, Michaela. Situations like that arise. She did have someone that was, more over the phone and speaking to her on social media, on Instagram, and like commenting on her post, and aggressive that way, and she had to cut off, you know, a relationship with that person, because it really was making her upset. So she did talk to, you know, George. They talked about it, and then I talked about it her as well, and I did tell her, now that you have experienced this with this person, if this comes in your vicinity again, you will know how to recognize it. so you will not get wamboozled and the veil over your eyes again, because you'll know how to recognize this type of person because they're out there. I'm you know, glad things didn't go any further as we did with Michaela, but you know, now that you know, you'll be able to recognize it, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, Mom did not like him.
Yeah. See, she knew already.
Yeah.
You know that.
I mean, yeah, I was all in La La Land, but Mom did not like him from.
We know things.
Yeah.
Mom, we know things.
Absolutely. I mean, I see you. And
Yeah.
it was interesting because my husband he sits silent. My father was that way. I grew up with both parents, and my dad would always sit silent, is what we would call it. But he was always watching and always taking things in. And when the time was right, you're going to get his opinion. And it was going to either be left or right, no in between. And it does not change. So I knew that growing up with friends and relationships, even with friends that she's had. My dad would say, you know, in my situation, my dad would say, "This is your friend. This person is not your friend." That was it. I mean, that there's no matter what that person could do, it did not change. With Michaela, it's the same situation. You know, she may have a girlfriend and she's just like, well, I don't really like her because she doesn't like to do this. But my husband will say, but that is your friend. She cares about you as a friend. This person, we call them friends and fans. This is a fan. This is not a friend.
It's not friend.
I want to be with you because you do this, because you've been a part of this. With you for the cloud.
Situational relationships versus long-term relationships are essential. Yeah, Mom, it's funny, like the person that we're talking about, and it was so many people, a whole lot of people. They did a lot. Like I could fill up probably two or three pages.
Oh my God!
On a yellow legal pad of people that did not like him and did not tell me. Did not tell me the things that they saw. And that's because I was all engaged, you know, and all whatever. And the one person that I thought, you know, was really on my side, I consider her godmother, Mama Harmon. She's my seamstress. Been my seamstress since I was 14 years of age. And I mentioned to her that I was like, well, what did you think? I was not expecting an answer to that question. Not the kind of answer that I got. She's like, oh, he wasn't no good for you. I'm like, Mama, like really? Like,
this sounds like my mom.
You could tell me that long time ago. She's like, no.
That sounds like Nana. My mom would tell you.
Yeah, it was kind of. I think I cried. I mean, relationship long gone, long over. I wasn't crying over the relationship. I was just crying because so many people saw so many things, right? And so since Michaela's holding up the banner for all our daughters on here, sometimes we will tell you things that we experience and things that we're hoping that you don't have to experience. But at the same time, having that knowledge and wisdom, you know, goes a long way. And so I can share that, right? I wrote it in a book, obviously, but I can share that with you, Michaela, and, you know, with my contemporaries, actually, right, Dr. Garrett?
Yep.
Our 40s and our 50-year-old women, I can share those experiences with them and wisdom with them so that they don't have to walk down those controlling paths, those paths that do not benefit them as a young woman, a seasoned woman, flat-footed, having their own, but still wanting that relationship with a male. And so, I think we've got some good nuggets today about career and working towards our careers. We've also got some good nuggets about understanding.
And may I say
Her
one more
alarm is
thing?
going off.
Nighttime prayer.
Dr. Arnold, may I say
Go
one
ahead.
thing?
Go ahead.
Now,
Yes, love.
as mothers, we can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that to Michaela. Now my mom's passed, gone on. And I said, my mom poured everything that she had into us, my sister and I, and actually into the community and so many other young ladies who sat before her, crying because of broken relationships, broken marriages, broken friendships. And I said, she poured into these women, so much in the spirit of the Lord and just as women and just as a mother. And I said, one day I will be gone from this earth. And there are things that I just really want you to remember. And one thing that my dad always said to me, he's like, if you are in an unhealthy relationship that is holding you down, that is holding you back. And I saw this all throughout Dr. Arnold's book, which is why I try so desperately get my single friends to read it and share it with them. Because a lot of times when they're talking to me, trying to find the man, first of all, I say, stop looking for the man.
He will find you.
He will find you. And secondly, stop holding on to those things that are unhealthy, those past hurts, those past relationships. Because my dad would always say, if you're holding on to it, nothing can get in. And so when Michaela was like trying to grieve this awful relationship, I was like, you got to show me something or tell me something that was great about that, because this was her first real relationship. The one that we liked, she was just
He broke up with me over text, and my mom was like, are you going to cry? And I was like,
we were broke. We were hurt. Like, we wanted to cry because my husband and I both loved him. She didn't like him at all. So we were sitting in the room and she was like, you guys okay? Do I need to get you some water? He just said, let go of the bad stuff. The good stuff can come in. And that's what we reminded her of. And I think that last conversation that I had with her finally started to resonate with her. And I was like, I will be gone on, but you have always got to remember. It's like, read this book. She was like, you mean Auntie Kina had this kind of stuff going on? I was like, honey, it happens to everybody.
And I told them, like, when I came home, because I had told like a select few people about kind of what was going on. And
now you just told the whole world, but go ahead.
I feel like two of my really good friends, and one of them was a guy and one of them was a girl, and they were like, this isn't going to end well. And luckily, like I told you all, it wasn't anything too serious, except for the fact that like I just realized in the end of this, like, this isn't going to be able to continue. But one of the things that I think hurt the most coming out of this relationship was the fact that my mom and dad, specifically my mom, when I was in the relationship early on, like in the summer before I even went to school, she was like, you need to cut this off. And I remember I was like bent on staying in this. And then in November and December, I was like, I messed up.
Yeah, and I had always said I would not do that, because I remember going through that with my parents, and my mom was like, you need to cut this off. This is over. This is done. And that was so hurtful, because the more she said cut it off, the more I was like, this is my man. I'm staying with him.
I love him.
Y'all don't understand. This he for real.
My mom was and my mom told me one point, she was like, you need to stop talking to him. And if he's a real man, he can come to us. I told him, I was like, you need to talk to my parents. He didn't do that.
he was
like, I'm good, At that point, I was like, there's a lot of like errors that I told you, and like you said, Auntie Kina, that I was kind of able to take from this. And moving forward, I don't want to be in that predicament. I don't want anybody else hearing the story to have to go through something like that. So
can I say one point?
Yes.
I want you to hear this, Michaela, and remember this. If the person that supposedly cares about you cannot speak to your parents and will not speak to your parents, they don't need to speak to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
that's
no,
the nugget.
there's no
Nugget.
woman on this earth that can date my son
But we'll not
without
speak.
having had a seriously date my son, without having a conversation with me and his father.
Yes, ma'am.
Because just as much as we love our daughters,
Yeah.
us mothers love our sons too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whew. Yeah.
Like, Tanya, is that true for you too? Like, you would want them to be able to
Yeah.
have a conversation with you all too?
Yes. That's it's respect. It's a respect thing.
There you go.
Yeah. And if if you're trying to date a meal or take her out, then there needs to be that conversation. And like I said, it's a respect thing. If you don't respect her enough to meet the parents, then something's not right. Something's not right there. And that's a big signal, a big alarm. A big
Red
alarm.
flag, red
Yeah.
flag. That's a flag on the plate.
Yeah.
Flag on the plate.
Because
Absolutely. Absolutely.
being nervous to me, but being nervous about talking to someone's parent, that's
I'm
given.
sorry.
That's okay.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, am I frozen? Okay,
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
good.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to someone's parent, it's okay to be nervous. That's good. I mean, that's a natural thing, right? But being totally against it and unwilling, that's the red flag. So I want to make sure that we're differentiating between the two. It's nothing
Right.
wrong with being
That's
nervous.
true. Right.
Michaela, his parents, or meeting her parents, Emil, meeting his parents, or Emil's friend meeting you and George. It's no different. It's okay. But being totally obstinate against it, like I ain't doing it, that's old school, I don't need to do it. Those are red flags. And I know
Yeah.
some of my five babies don't seem to understand that. But I'm just gonna continue to pray for them. But man, we are right at 9:07. I can't believe that time just went completely fast.
so
It went
much
real fast. But I mean, we talked about some really good things. Definitely the career path, and waiting on marriage and relationships, and making sure that you're having someone who. What are the three top? Is seasons, right, Dr. Garrett? What are the three?
Seasons, lifetimes. Reasons, seasons, and lifetimes.
Lifetime. And what category they're in. And then also understanding that those that with wisdom and those that can see some things that you can't see, take it in. Don't discard it as, oh, you just being old school, or that's not the way we do it now, 2022. We do it differently. We date differently. That's my wifey. No, that's my husband. No. But understanding that those around you can give you wisdom. And so I appreciate you, Tanya, for coming on. Miss Emile, she owes me one.
Right.
Miss Emile was supposed to be on. And shout out to two of my other mother-daughter teams. One mother-daughter team is in Mexico right now. So I'm like, if y'all can get on, great. If y'all can't, it's okay. Right. So, all right. And then another daughter team had some illness, and so we definitely will pray for them as well. So we were going to have a whole group of mother-daughter teams, but I think we covered some nice territory. Some nice territory. This will be a part of a series. This will not be the first and the last of the mother-daughter series, or mother-daughter conversations, because I think they're important. And I think they're essential, especially for this season. So, if I could sum up our wonderful talk today about career, the big word, the it word, the S, the ends with X, the relations word, and just overall relationships with male counterparts. Just be careful in who you are aligning yourself with, who you're walking side by side with, because scripture says, you can't walk side by side unless you agree. So if you're walking side by side with someone who is not giving and propelling you and compelling you to be your best self, then you're aligning with something negative that's within them. And so I think you should look in that mirror and check out what that alignment is really giving to you, right? I think that's important, but it's also important to understand that we're all going to have experiences. I know the mothers struggle with
Auntie Kina, you're muted.
yeah, I don't know why it keeps muting us. I don't know. It's doing some strange things over here. Dr. Garrett, I think you're going to have to unmute yourself. Let's see.
No, I was just saying you were muted.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then Tanya, it won't let me unmute you. I don't know what
there
it's
we
doing.
go.
Yeah, it's just doing something. On
Yeah.
its own. I don't know. Computer stuff. I don't know. But anyway, so we're going to end today and understand that we will have this talk again, but on some different subjects because we didn't touch base on everything mother and daughter in the weightiness of this weight, right?
Yeah.
So I bless you guys for joining us. Join us the last Tuesday in June. It'll be surprise conversation, but just look out for our flyers and you'll know. And if you subscribe, you will know as well. So we'll say goodbye. And until we meet you again at the end of June, thank you so much for having us. And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.